Hi, everybody. This is Loren Baker, founder of Search Engine Journal, and welcome to today's Search Engine Journal show. With me today, I have Lindsay Shearer from Pins for Profit. How's it going, Lindsay?
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Excited to dive into some awesome Pinterest training for all of our search engine junkies.
I'm really excited about this episode because I really don't know much at all about Pinterest. I know it can drive a lot of traffic. I know that actually ran a poll. So asking people what they thought about Pinterest, whether they classified it as a search engine or a social media network. And the majority, like 60 something percent on both polls that we ran on Twitter and LinkedIn, considered Pinterest to be a search engine.
Yes.
So it's the search engine no one's talking about,
Yeah, it's
except for
crazy.
you.
Yeah, I know. Apparently, right? So that's great for us because we've got this blue ocean space, I guess you could consider it. But yeah, I think people are finally starting to warm up to this idea that yes, in fact, it is more of a search engine than a social media
Mm-hmm.
site. It still has elements of both the social media engagement and things like that, but it's much more categorized based on your keywords and your search intent. So the content that's created
Right.
really that does well, whether it be engagement on ads or even on organic, of course, does better if it is more highly searchable, search intent, that kind of thing. So yes, definitely more of a search engine.
And it's great timing too, because at Google's Search On conference this week, there was a lot of discussion around visual search, the use of Google Lens to identify different objects, colors, designs, et cetera, et cetera. And you know what? If you think of Pinterest as being a visual search engine, it's a little bit ahead of the curve on that end. And there's a very, very loyal user base. But before we get into that, how about you share a little bit with our listeners and viewers about yourself and your background and how you became a Pinterest marketing and lead generation expert?
Yeah, it's crazy because for years and years, I love SEO. That's really kind of my backbone. I've done digital marketing and run large agencies for a long time and ranked a lot of different types of brands. I really fell in love with e-commerce, though, I would say probably 9 or 10 years ago, and was just really focused on ranking a lot of our e-commerce brands because really, as you guys probably understand this, that in ecom, the last thing you're doing is SEO. You're really trying to get results on your paid ads and all that kind of stuff. And then I come
Right.
in this position where folks are really trying to build a brand. And of course, I fell in love with Search Engine Journal way long years ago that we were posting and publishing there. And
Thank
in
you.
the process, yeah, of course, you created this amazing platform. So I'm super excited to be here. And yeah, so in the process of just ranking a million different types of businesses, I was like, well, let's just throw some things up on Pinterest. I had been using it for personal use at the time. This is like 8 years ago, and had seen some really good results just on some preliminary traffic stuff. And I was like, okay, let's see what this can really do. And so we started putting more images up for our clients. And even just on the personal side, I was doing some info products for my own stuff and courses and whatever. And I was just like amazed at the quality of traffic and the volume of traffic that we were getting and the authority. Pinterest is
Hmm.
considered a very big, the number 10 actually search engine in the world, which is crazy to me. It's just growing like crazy. People are starting to become more aware of it. And then 4 or 5 years ago, they launched their ads platform. And so we became early adopters, trying to help our e-commerce clients diversify spend. And you guys know how it is. You're building a brand and you're trying to get traffic from a lot of different sources and really create something that's more sustainable. So that's when Pins for Profit was born out of our SEO agency life. And I was like, wow,
Nice.
there's such a demand for it that I didn't even realize. And I feel like, too, just speaking and doing a lot of different stuff and teaching has created even more of a desire to learn to use it. So, yay, it makes me excited. It's a great, great
So
platform.
are you still doing as much on the SEO side, or are you concentrating, like what percentage of your time do you concentrate on Pinterest
I would
versus
say
other platforms?
probably 60% Pinterest, 40% SEO
Mm-hmm.
now. It's about it just kind of the last 2.5 years is when that big shift really kind of happened. So, but yeah, we do both because it's such a unique strategy. My trademark or whatever is called cross ranks. And so that's really my goal is to help brands rank with a single strategy on multiple search engines. So YouTube,
Yeah.
Google. Pinterest and really create a good quality strategy that's going to hit everything without them having to create a billion pieces of content.
That's
So
really that's really interesting because I love talking to people that do have that kind of that niche in the market, right? That slice that other people aren't necessarily because there's so many folks out there that try to be the best at everything. And that can get really draining after a while. It's really nice to be able to pinpoint like one or two things that you want to focus on and be the best there. One of my partners at Search Engine Journal, Brett Satoris, he's focused on Reddit for years. Well, he focused on Dig first, but Dig, we all know Dig went away. But so he's been on Reddit for years. So he's regarded as a Reddit marketer, right, at the end of the day. So he's really carved that niche for himself there. It's great to see that you've been able to do so on the Pinterest side as well. And speaking of the popularity of Pinterest, not only is Pinterest what did you say, 10th largest search engine in the world, which is pretty amazing when you Google Baidu, like everything else at the end of the day. But also, I was running one of our sponsors, SEMrush, and again, thank you to our sponsors for making today's show possible, SEMrush and Adzuma. So we got the organic and we got the paid. But I was running Pinterest numbers. So if I go to SEMrush and I search, I do a domain overview for Pinterest.com to see where it ranks. So Pinterest boards, and correct me if I'm wrong with defining like what's done within Pinterest. Pinterest boards rank, so the term funny memes with 1 million search volumes per month. The search volume for funny memes is 1 million searches per month. A Pinterest user named CG Helt2 has a board called Hilarious Memes that ranks number 1 in Google for the word funny memes. Happy Mother's Day. Another individual Pinterest user ranks number 1 for Happy Mother's Day, right? So there's a lot of like unbranded generic terms. Boys hairstyles. It's a Pinterest board called Boys Hairstyles. It ranks number 1 in Google for this. It's 500,000 queries. And then you get into like branded queries like Home Depot, their Pinterest account ranks number 5 for their name. Target, theirs is on the first page. Lowe's ranks number 4 with a search volume of 20 million. So it almost seems to me too that if a company or a brand is overlooking Pinterest, then they're not necessarily optimizing for their own branded terms within Google, right? Etsy's Pinterest board ranks number 2 for a query for Etsy, which is 13 million. So the ability to set up these boards, and all of these are like Etsy, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's. There's also a trend here because it's crafts, it's commerce, and it's home and home decor oriented as well, which we'll get into in a little bit. But it's pretty amazing that for non-branded and branded terms that have extremely high search volume, I'm seeing Pinterest boards rank on the top page above the fold, the top 3 on Google at the same time. So there's actually the ability to rank your own board for a lot of very popular queries as well.
Yeah, it blows my mind. When I first started noticing and recognizing, I realized how underutilized it is. Like, man, no one even thinks about this. It just happens. It just happens kind of. Like you throw some things up there and people don't even know how to use it to be intentional about it. And I didn't either 8 years ago. But I realized the quality of traffic we were getting. And I thought to myself, okay, there is absolutely a strategy that we can implement that creates incredible relevancy in Google and on Pinterest. And so, yes, ranking your boards, and because it's a curated content platform, you guys know the importance of content. You're getting other people to create your content too. So you're sharing things and you're ranking higher as an authority figure by other people sharing your stuff and sharing their stuff into your boards. So it's really not even just, you don't have to create a billion pieces of content, like I said, in order to do this. So it just requires more of an intentional search-based strategy. And that's why we've had such good success with it, because my background and my mind thinks like an SEO agency, like an SEO person. So when I'm thinking of ranking and I'm thinking of authority building and all these kinds of things, I'm like, okay, these are the things that we do on Google to keep ranking higher. Let's apply them to Pinterest, and let's use some of Pinterest has its own natural type of buying behavior as well. And just being able to work those things together, it's crazy what can happen. And it amazes me because for years I overlooked it. And pretty much everyone that I talk to when we're onboarding them, they never even thought about it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this is great. We're going to get some good wins. And it has this long-term staying power too. That's another huge key point. If you share things on Instagram or any other social site, they're gone in 24 hours. Pinterest stuff stays forever.
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 I see those surprises popping up in analytics from time to time as well. Like you'll see a trend, or maybe like 2 years ago, someone started a Mother's Day campaign at a company. They forgot about it. They left the company. No one took it over. And then all of a sudden you see all this traffic coming from Pinterest. And when's Mother's Day? May? And then you see all this traffic coming from Pinterest. Like, oh, we set that board up. How do we? So where can companies get started? Like in terms of building out a Pinterest strategy, are there certain ways to get started? Are there certain best practices for maintaining a board? And then also, does Pinterest work for all types of companies?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be consistent. You want to just, first of all, create a presence, make some cool pins that either match up to your products or your blogs, or if you had a recipe page, things like that, or a magazine, or just images that you're already making for Instagram and things like that. You can kind of start using some of that for your Pinterest strategy. And I would say the best thing to do is really be consistent, just like any other platform. But the good thing is, because it's a search engine, you can set things on organic and just place them out there and people share that. So one of the things that we did is we created basically an influencer network with the same idea of how you would market on Google or any other platform where you're trying to increase in search by gaining this relevancy. And so we created this whole network full of communities that now we share all of our content so that it can go viral so much faster. And so I'm like, yes, we have this extra crazy community element that's basically like an influencer network that allows us to just share things and they go crazy viral, which is really cool. But if you're getting started, definitely you want to set up a business account, definitely get some images made and start looking at your keywords for Google. Things on Pinterest are going to be broader search than it would be for Google or Yahoo or even YouTube for that matter.
So what about different types of businesses? Does Pinterest work for B2B? Does it work better for home or visual oriented businesses? Like, how does that typically work? And are there any businesses that you would suggest don't even look at Pinterest?
Yeah, I would say typically anything e-commerce is good usually. Anything focused on women, home does number one. Anything mom and baby, DIY, anything that has recipes, fitness does really well, in health, fashion, beauty, hair care, stuff like that does really well. We've done really well with B2B info products, a lot of softwares, things like that, courses, coaching, that stuff does really well. I don't know. I have a friend that does local business on Pinterest and she does really well with it. It's not something that we've extremely explored because the audience sizes and for what we're doing are smaller. So I haven't explored enough to say, yes. Somebody was asking me about that this morning too. I'm like, I don't know. It wouldn't be my first go-to for local business.
Got you. And you had mentioned that a good place to get started might be utilizing some of the same images that you would be sharing on Instagram or Facebook or some other social networks. But do you also recommend any native images specifically for Pinterest? And have you found that they work better?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anything that you're going to make specifically for Pinterest is going to work better. It'll rank faster. People will engage with it more. You can use a lot more text, a lot more visual explanation. Anything that might, even just your blog titles. We do a lot of really creative things with pointing out different elements of a product or a course, that kind of thing, and sharing a lot more text. I would say our images, and infographics do really well too.
Oh,
yeah.
I love infographics.
Yeah, me too.
So, say I'm a business, I get a board started. and I'm like, okay, I'm putting pictures out there, right? Maybe they're getting some likes or some pins. Maybe I'm getting a little bit of traffic. Are there any ways that you would recommend a business owner or marketer to build their community on Pinterest? Like, where do you get started with building that community and growing that community?
Yeah, you would definitely want to share it on your other social sites. We always share everything on our blogs. Anything externally that you can get, you definitely want to. And then also, for sure, people are searching. So getting on there and kind of looking at what people are searching, if you type in search terms, you will see, instead of how you would for Google, where you're just going to see your SERPs and everything just shows up like text mainly, and you get maybe a few ads. With Pinterest, you're going to see only images. So you'll see what is actually ranking for your text, and then you can start creating some images that are similar.
Nice, nice. And for the past 4 or 5 years, typically like organic Facebook traffic has really dropped, especially for publishers.
Yeah.
Instagram, if you have a business account, you can swipe up to go to a location off of Instagram, or you can put your link in bio, which I actually read a study a couple months ago where if you post the hashtag link in bio in your description on an Instagram post, sometimes you get less engagement based upon that. I guess Instagram's really trying to keep people within their walled garden. So a lot of social media networks are very walled gardens, whereas differently, Pinterest actually drives traffic to the site. Now that traffic, do you typically see that traffic engaging in sales? Is there a direct response component to Pinterest that might be of interest to, say, e-commerce or D2C oriented sites?
Yeah, that's mainly what our clientele is, mostly for our done for you services, is e-com D2C. And I would say absolutely, you're going to have a mixture of this behavior where they're seeing something, they research it, save the pin, come back later and purchase. So you have this massive element of delayed attribution.
Right.
And that's something that's harder for performance-based marketers to accept, especially initially. It's kind of the same with your SEO clients where you're convincing them for months and months and months. It's working, I promise.
It's going to happen. Don't worry. Yeah.
It does, though, eventually. It just takes a little bit of time. And so I feel like part of my job is trying to mix in this direct response element with the fact that we're creating a brand awareness that's going to rank long term and actually create sustainable staying power for these keywords. And so it does take some time to warm up. It warms up a lot faster than Google, a lot faster than anything else that was going to require minimum 90 days for anything to show up. So you can see, we see results as fast as 2 weeks, sometimes that week. It just depends on how hard we hit the keywords. And this is true. You'll definitely see results pretty quickly. So I would say, yes, get on there, find good keywords, be consistent about it, share things from other social sites. They will last longer. People are not necessarily encouraged to go off site, but it's a lot easier to do it on Pinterest. So they created this thing like a year and a half ago. It used to be this 2-tap, and it still is for organic, where you tap the image, it opens up on the Pinterest platform, and you can actually read the description, read a little bit of information about who published it, and then go onto their site if you want to. Well, for ads, they changed that a year and a half ago or so to where it's now what's called a 1-tap, where basically you tap the image and it scrolls into what looks like a native landing page image, scroll up, turns into the landing page, which is great for, it's great for viewership, but it's terrible for tracking and analytics. It's created a nightmare for us because it looks like, for some whatever reason, how they have it coded, it looks like it's bouncing basically. Like they're seeing the image and it looks like on Google Analytics and everything, it'll seem like you have these crazy high bounce rates, which isn't true. So that's because before that, we never had that problem.
So organic has that 2-click process. Open the image, and then you see the description, you see some of the information that's brought in through schema, all of that, and then you click it again, you go to the site. And it sounds like with ads, it's 1 click, but it's a little bit of a different experience. Which is, it's kind of sneaky, right? Organic, it's harder to get to the site. With ads, it only takes 1 click. So Most of what I've done in Pinterest is solely on the organic side. How effective is Pinterest marketing in terms of paid, and do the two work together?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The last 2 years, the ad platform has gotten much smarter. And I have a friend who's on the engineering team. So we're on the inside trying to help them and give them feedback all the time about all
That's
of the
always
things.
nice.
But just like any algorithm, for example, with Facebook, even with Google over time, they've matured, they've gotten smarter. They're much more pressing you to get viewership through ads, just like anything else, where eventually your organic reach over time is diminished to some capacity because they want you to pay, obviously, for your traffic. So, but they make it easy. There are a lot of different types of traffic, similar to Facebook as far as the objectives: brand awareness, lead generation, traffic, add to carts, checkouts, those kinds of things, and website visitors, website viewers, website visitors, or I'm sorry, video viewers, website visitors.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of options. And now you can optimize for deeper funnel objectives without as many hurdles. But again, with this delayed buying behavior, this delayed attribution buying behavior, it does take longer, in my experience, for your ads to get out of learning phase, for the algorithm to kind of find things. It's much faster now than it was when we started 3-4 years ago, but it still takes longer than Facebook, longer than Google. It's going to take the algorithm, the learning keeps getting faster, but still longer.
Got you. And with the delayed attribution, are there ways to speed that up? So, for example, someone discovers my product or product line or brand via Pinterest. They go to the site. Do you typically start then tracking that bridge between the Pinterest visit and something like retargeting or remarketing
Oh,
to
yeah.
serve that more direct ad message to them? And does that typically sync up? Do you see that working quite a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always retargeting pretty heavily, just like you would basically on Facebook or any other channel. And I would say, in general, we're trying to drive direct response through whatever type of engagement, whether it's view the video or just, pressing harder with the call to action. Like, here's your call
Hmm.
to action, being very intentional, because we're coming at Pinterest from a marketing perspective versus the native user who is a more DIYer person who's
Hmm.
probably less, I would consider them much less aggressive in the sense of how they're reacting, or how they're even presented to react to images. So when you come on and you're a little bit more aggressive with your calls to action, you tell them exactly what to do and you're giving them a tutorial, and then you're retargeting them with a deeper funnel objective. Yes, we're trying to really drive that direct response as much as we can.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
each way you look at it, it's still going to be longer. No matter what you do, there will be delay.
And then, you had talked about a lot in terms of generating a lot of traffic,
Yeah.
right? And the quality of the traffic. What are some traffic numbers? Like, what are how many visitors are some of your clients getting right now in specific fields? So if you could share, I mean, if you want to share the client name, but uh, client industry, client field, and then like the average amount of traffic they're getting on a monthly basis through Pinterest and whether or not that's generating sales.
Mhm.
Let's say.
Well, it directly correlates, if you're talking about ads, to your ad spend for sure. On
Hmm.
organic too, and just how aggressive we're going with it. But I would say it's not unreasonable to expect 6 to 10,000 visitors a month if you're going
Nice.
decently aggressive. Depends on your keywords too. Some keywords, you guys know, are more competitive and you're going to get less volume
Right.
initially, but over time, maybe you'll get a lot more volume. It really depends. But we get tons of viewers on the platform. I mean, it's insane. 3 and 4 million
Hmm.
viewers
Wow.
on the platform on what we can get as far as like different impressions and monthly audience that's engaging somehow on the platform. And that's not with I wouldn't even consider that to be an extremely aggressive amount of spend either.
And then last year during COVID lockdowns, of course, sites like Pinterest became a lot more popular because
Yeah.
people were looking for something to do, right? Whether it's recipes or crafts or something to do with their kids or whatever. So I know the Pinterest stock went through the roof during the pandemic. Um, what effects did you see, or what kind of traffic did you see? An increase in traffic numbers during the lockdown, and has that maintained or is it dropping? Like, what are you seeing on that side? Do you think the popularity is sticking?
Yeah.
on Pinterest?
Last year was like our best year ever so
Yeah, I
far.
can imagine.
Best ever. And then I would say it's been pretty consistent. As of about June and July, when we were going through all the iOS updates again, we saw a pretty good dip for most of our clients, at least for about a month. And then back as of end of July, beginning of August, things seem to be more back to normal. So I will expect, just like any other platform, the CPAs and everything get a little higher during the holidays. And because Pinterest, we start so much earlier because there is all that delay and people are planning and
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
they're planning purchases, they're getting inspiration. So we start very early. Like we've already started all of our holiday promos for almost all of our clients as of beginning of September. So we're definitely ahead of the curve. And last year, everything lasted until mid-February. So it was like, hallelujah. We were having some great results for like 6 months. It was awesome.
So you were discussing informational products earlier a little bit in terms of like how you got started on Pinterest. What are some of, in terms of like the projects that you're working on in your client base, what are some of the businesses that are absolutely killing it right now, and why do you think they are?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of different info products, whether it be courses, some digital products that are lower priced, even with lots of
Mm-hmm.
upsells are doing really well. We've got some home decor brands that are just killing it in the $25 to $100 range on some of their products for their initial products. Some of the funnel structures that work really well for Pinterest are the opt-in, so you're going to get a good lead generation system. And then we always push hard for a next upsell, whether it be $7, $9, $27, something, even $97 product that's like your typical smaller info product. And then after that, we're like, just hit it again with another 97, 197 type of product. You can go straight on your retargeting as well to a 197, 297, 497, even 997 product. So you've got some really good opportunity to generate good leads, people to get engaged with the brand, people stay, they're consistent. We've got all different types of info products, anything that you could imagine that's women focused, business focused, marketing. And then, of course, on the e-commerce side, we're pushing some of our e-com products to even be more subscription based and try and create some additional consistent revenue generation streams.
Very interesting. So you had talked about kind of the initial products, which may be at a lower price point, and then upsells. What about things like tripwires, ClickFunnels, Zipify, like trying to get someone to get that like sample or maybe free product to get, and then they sign up and they get their credit card and they upsell? Like, do those work well in Pinterest too?
Oh yeah, we're hitting those hard every day. Absolutely.
Okay, amazing. So that's really good to know. And you had mentioned video before earlier. Is there a video component to Pinterest at all? Or is it
Yeah.
all static imagery?
So video was released really, I mean, you could do videos for a long time, but it became much more focused about a year and a half ago. And videos are allowed to be used, and you can use them in all the different ad types. They actually launched a video viewer specific ad. It's more, for whatever reason, the video views on there are too expensive. They end up being for our clients. So we just use the videos. We always test them and I've had a couple clients who have had really, really good results, but it just took a lot even longer, which seems weird on Pinterest for video, but it's just more of we get better results with our static images even now. A lot of times the video will do well on organic though. So if you have videos that you're creating for Instagram story size that are that longer dimension, 2x3 and longer, we always throw those up for organic and just test those out. But I would say our go-to for ads is more the static images. And now they're releasing new types of things on Pinterest, they have idea pins, they're called, which are similar to Reels, similar to Instagram stories. You've got this carousel element and you've got the video element too. So they're definitely trying to push and roll out some of the things that are working on other platforms for sure.
You had discussed a little bit earlier about Pinterest really leaning towards a female demographic.
Yeah.
So in addition to that and Pinterest being visual, do you find that most Pinterest users are on desktop or mobile?
A surprising number are on desktop. But I
Okay.
will say this too, that 40% of new users of Pinterest are men. So we have
Really?
focusing even more on men's related products. We've got luxury watches, we've got luxury wallets, things like that that are doing well, where men are searching, whether it be finance, cryptocurrency. There's a lot of things that
Mm.
are very much in the news and whatever that people are definitely searching on Pinterest too. So we're hitting those categories. And then of course gifts for men, gifts for Father's Day,
Mm.
gifts for the holiday, gift ideas for dad, gift ideas for grandpa, those types of things. We start those early for the holidays too, because there are a lot of women and they're looking for gifts for men too. So
Yeah. Yeah. And guys don't just want a belt. Like
no, they want
we
something.
want something cool.
I was
But we
putting up
don't know what we want. It's hard.
images this week that we were doing for one of our wallet brands, and they were all
Mhm.
like these burly looking men on motorcycles and all this kind of stuff too. So they were hitting both the female and male demographic with those.
There you go. There you go. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Watches, wallets, and cryptocurrency.
Yeah,
It
finance,
sounds like my life.
cars. Yeah, definitely.
Amazing, amazing. You know, before this episode, I was watching a video you had done with I think it's
Yeah,
d2c.co
yeah, yeah.
on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and you were talking about the demographics there. So I looked up our demographics on Search Engine Journal. We're 55% male, 45% female on SEJ, which is kind of interesting as well.
Yeah,
Like
I would
because I think there's always a lot of talk about the SEO industry being very male oriented. Even though when I started, it was all female, so I'm not sure how that
agree.
happened. But um, with like Jill Whalen and Deborah Masteller, like it was like all of the high rankings forums and all of that. They were all. Anyway, it's really interesting to kind of look at that demographic data and try to figure it out. So, what do you attribute the recent growth of male users to Pinterest from? Any idea?
Yeah, I think people are waking up to the possibilities of Pinterest. And you've got a lot of
Mhm.
savvy marketers that are getting on there, that are becoming aware of the need for it. There's just a lot of stuff. Men are definitely the men's grooming industry. I've worked with Manscaped, and some of these larger brands are considering and moving to new platforms. Everybody's feeling the pressure of the iOS update. So people are
Right.
definitely considering other channels. And Pinterest is one of those that seems to have been hidden for a long time, but I'm feeling like people are becoming more aware of it, which is exciting. And it's just kind of a fun thing to do. There's no other search engine that's really a visual search that you can save things, come back later, and purchase them. It's got a really unique element to it. And people love that. I see tons of like my husband saves haircuts and sweaters
Mhm.
and all kinds of stuff like that he likes, and like lots of men's grooming products and gels and oils and beard stuff. And so
You know, it's funny. It's funny too because like we were talking about traffic and conversion summit before
yeah,
jumping on here, and I remember the last time I was at like a TNC or a war room or something like that. Like half the people in the room seemed like they sold men's grooming products, and I don't remember that being a big deal like a decade ago.
yeah. Oh, it
Like
was, I don't think.
beard oil,
Mhm.
manscaping, different types of clippers, various different types of razors, creams, lotions, everything. It's just soaps. You know, I'm wearing some SEJ merch right now. It's hard to see because of my microphone setup, but I don't buy regular clothes anymore in the store. I just buy things that I see advertised to me on Instagram. So if I go to the gym a lot, I'll see like I don't know, t-shirts that like cool burly dudes in the gym wear, right? It's like super hyper targeted. So
Yeah,
it's really interesting because I can see that transition kind of happening, especially for the male demographic or even like the older male demographic over time. Didn't really care about things like different oils and moisturizers and lotions
totally. Uh,
10 years ago, but now it's just become normalized and you see you get exposed to that so much if you're online
yep.
that it's just be I mean it's basic marketing and influence at the end of the day, but you don't only feel like you need it, but then you see that your friends are liking it or your friends are sharing it. And then
Everyone.
it just
Mhm.
the natural transition over to a new platform as well. So awesome.
Yeah.
I talked a little bit about Pinterest advertising,
Mhm.
getting started with Pinterest advertising. Does organic by itself work, or do you really need that boost from paid to get the results that you may be looking for in a Pinterest campaign?
Organic works for sure. It lasts forever. It's something that will continue, kind of like your SEO on Google, et cetera. It'll continue. If you're ranking, and you have to do, I would consider it even less ongoing linking ranking to stay ranked on Pinterest, which is really cool. The last probably 6 months, it's been a little bit less because I do feel like they are pushing folks more towards the ad platform. And when you do run ads, you are going to get a lot of additional organic traffic too because of this delayed attribution. So if you're outside your attribution window, then you've got something that's got a long-term staying power. And if someone's buying it, they consider it organic over time. So, and it really is, because they may see it as an ad, save the ad, come back later and purchase. So it's got this unique sense of ads plus organic. So if you want to run ads, it's going to boost your organic as well. And then of course, it'll start positioning you in front of people who are searching those elements, and you're going to show up again on search too for your ads and organic. So yes, I would say
Amazing.
it's not mutually exclusive, but they definitely help each other.
Amazing. And earlier I was talking a little bit about Pinterest's visibility within Google, right? Ranking number one for funny memes, for example. I would expect memegenerator.net to rank
Yeah,
number one for funny memes,
totally.
but it's Pinterest, right? So and that's just like a regular user's account.
Yeah.
So are there ways that users can optimize their accounts or their boards better to have them rank in Google to be able to attract even non-interest traffic or non-Pinterest traffic to your account and then ultimately to your site?
Yeah, similar to how you would see on the hashtag system on
Mhm.
Instagram, where you're sharing your different keywords, et cetera, and eventually you're kind of ranking, so to speak, inside that social algorithm. That's definitely got an element on Pinterest too. And so I would say you want to be consistent about your image creation. If you are sharing and getting other people involved and engaged, you're going to continue ranking higher, and just being really consistent about your keywords. So they released a trends tool as of, I think, last year, beginning of last year. And it's really good for looking at different keywords that are going to be available for certain trends during the year. And so we try and stay relevant with our content of what's happening in the world, what's going on, different holiday seasons, that kind of thing, and hitting those keywords. So you're generating content that's going to be lasting and more sustainable during different holiday seasons, and staying up with the trends on Pinterest where you can actually see what people are searching more regularly. So I would say that is definitely a big part of it too.
Got you. And I'm looking at your site right now. I'm going to drop a link to your site in the comments. Uh, Pins for Profit. So here we go. Pins for number 4 profit.com. And you're selling a lot of different courses. I also see that you have a Facebook group with almost 1,000 users in it as well. Um, what are the courses? How does it typically work? I see some of them are like, how to start making $1,000 a
Yeah.
month or something like that on Pinterest. So like, how does that typically work? And then what advantages are there to joining your Facebook group?
Yeah, for sure. I would say our main focus is really more of our done for you services, but we do have organic training courses. I just launched a VIP day that we're doing where we're actually going to walk through the ads manager and teach you how to run ads. So I'm really excited about that. That's really fun and a long time coming. People have been asking for a long time. And then, yes, I have a full on ads training course. It's a little bit more advanced for folks who understand marketing better and are ready to run ads. But the organic course is available for anyone. You can definitely use it for any type of business. It works really well. You can understand the keyword element and get really clear about that. So yeah, if you check out our website, we've got a lot of different stuff. we've got our custom dashboards and tracking
Yeah.
courses and stuff like that as well.
I'm a big fan of Facebook groups for networking, learning from others, because I'm sure the people that you work with can learn from you, obviously, but it's awesome when you start to see people that have learned from you start to teach others within
Yeah,
that platform as well. Do you see much of that going on?
yeah, for sure. I try and do live trainings and bring in experts and that kind of thing into our Facebook group. So we've got some really awesome marketers and brand owners who are trying different things, people that we've worked with and not, and just that are learning. And it's really fun to see the growth. And we do some exclusive trainings in there. I just did a really good one for Black Friday and the holidays. That's in the Facebook group as well, for Pinterest stuff that's going on, and created some cool graphics so you can kind of see what to expect and what to do. And yeah, so it's fun. Definitely fun.
Do you get to take Black Friday and Cyber Monday off, or is that like a very busy season for you?
No, the Q4 is the busiest season. I never get any days off. In the beginning of the year, I kind of take a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, the beginning of the year is when our fitness brands and supplement brands.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So really, like end of April is when I typically get a day off.
Yeah, that's the gap, right? And then like around May, it starts to get nice out again. So people are switching from sweaters to t-shirts. They're like, oh, I really got to start getting back on this program that I was thinking about joining in January.
Right.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, for me, it's pretty much the week between Christmas and New Year's is the one time I can take off out of the year. Try to. So we talked a lot about what people can do to build their Pinterest accounts up, like the advantages, growing from organic into paid. But what are some tips in terms of what people should not do on Pinterest? Like what is definitely taboo on Pinterest? Are there ways you can get kicked out? Are there ways to really turn off your audience, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so there are some things that you can't do. I would say it's much more widely open than Facebook, which is nice. You can't do anything related to giveaway sweepstakes in general. We have to really rephrase that a little bit differently for our lead gen type of audiences. You can't really you can do CBD for organic, but you can't do it for ads. Nothing that would be considered a drug or violent or anything like that. You can't do anything like that. No guns, nothing like that. But you can definitely do pretty much anything for organic. There's no political anything on Pinterest.
Good.
Yeah. Drop shipping is a hit or miss. So if you have a store that, say, for example, you have a store with a ton of different drop shipping products and you're using the same images that your manufacturer gave you, that's probably the number one. The only time that I've ever seen someone's account get shut down and never turned back on.
Wow.
That was the case.
Are there any common mistakes that people do when they start to Pinterest market? Like, for example, a novice in SEO might get an email saying, hey, send me this and I'll get you links all over the place. They buy those links. The next thing they know, their traffic drops because they've broken Google guidelines or something like that, right? Are there any common mistakes that you see people may be doing in the world of Pinterest that they should definitely stay away from?
Yeah, I would say for sure you want to do more text on your images. If you have almost no text, if the only time that it seems to work okay with no text is some of the home decor stuff or interior design, where you're just showing like an image of a really nicely made or designed interior design thing. And the other thing that is so weird to me is that user generated content doesn't do very well on Pinterest.
That is weird. I would expect the opposite almost.
I know. That's the same thing that I think all the time, but every time we try it, it never really works. So, I mean, you can do some that's more like tutorial based or DIY for organic, but those never do well on ads. Everything on ads is much more polished. It needs to be like pretty clean looking, good quality photos, product photos, descriptions, all that kind of stuff. So higher quality does better over time.
Got you. So, you want to rank images on Pinterest. Obviously, it's an image search engine / social media site. Original images, you would say, are good more so than stock photos. I think that's the biggest change we're going to see in Google next year with everything too. I tell all my clients, stop doing stock photos. Go
Yep.
pay somebody, right? And just do a couple of days to build up your own library of images that are proprietary to your brand
Yeah.
instead of using the same stock photos everyone else has, right? Because there's much more value to that from a brand perspective. And I really think at the end of the day, I mean, Google knows, right? You click on one stock photo and you see similar images and you see every other company that's using them as well. So how do you stand out more in Pinterest or Google? You use your own images, high quality images, schema,
Yeah.
right? So you have your schema markup. You had mentioned keywords and hashtags. Are hashtags an important part of, is
You
that
can
part of
use
Pinterest as well?
hashtags, but you don't really need the hashtag symbol itself. You can just stick with the keyword. It's fine.
Got you. And is there a virality? Like if more people are clicking on a specific image or whatever it may be, a post on Pinterest, does that kind of take off? Like if I'm clicking, do my friends see that I clicked it as well? Or if I like it, do my friends see that too? There's a viral aspect?
Yeah, it is. There is some element of that. I would say it's less search or less socially viral and more search viral. So it's going to show up if you're engaging more, people are engaging more with it. It's going to show up higher in search.
Got you. And you had also mentioned that you've kind of set up your own influencer network of different, accounts and members. Do you encourage your clients to do that themselves as well? Because I would think if you could like segment your email list or your customer list of people that are really active on Pinterest, you could like hit them all the time to become your advocates and ambassadors there as well.
You could. I would say it's not the same as Instagram to where you're mobilizing your influencer network. So we don't
Mhm.
encourage our clients to necessarily spend as much time on it. It takes a long time to get there.
Big
So
investment.
yeah, we have them focus more on content, like good quality content generation. And we
Got you.
kind of take care of that part.
Got you. So, say I'm a business
Mhm.
and I want to start learning about Pinterest 101. I can obviously go to pinsforprofit.com to start learning there. Are there any other locations or great guides or ebooks out there that will also help me get a head start in the world of Pinterest marketing that you would recommend?
So Pinterest themselves put out really, really good webinars all the time, tutorials
Hmm.
all the time. If you go to their website, their help site, it's like a whole other help network, has really good instructions. So if you're looking at just new things or you have questions, they have great instructional tutorials that I would definitely get on their email list. They do stuff for all the holidays. Every time there's a new product launched or a new type of ad launched or something new launched with their algorithm, they have really good webinars and things that they teach on. So they're probably this, I would say, the second best resource.
There you go. So that's Pinterest Help, like Help
Yeah.
Center.
Yeah, they have a great help center. Yep, help.pinterest.com.
Got it. I'm dropping that in the chat or the comments as well. But after all the pins for profit links that I dropped earlier.
Yay.
So awesome. So
Yeah.
people can find you online at Lindsay B. Shearer
Yep.
on most different accounts, correct?
Twitter, Instagram, everything. Yep.
Cool. Or pins for profits. And you said that you spend now about 60% of your time on Pinterest marketing, 40% on SEO. What still, after all of these years of working in the world of SEO, what still gets you up in the morning and gets you energized about search?
Yeah. I just love search. It's been my heart and soul forever. I feel like it's so much more sustainable than a lot of other things. And we focus mainly on, we don't do a lot of on-site or technical anymore. We mostly do a lot of link building, outreach, and PR. So
Mhm.
over the years, I've built a lot of relationships with other publications. So that seems to be the easiest for us. It's the most fun. I love seeing our
Mhm.
clients' faces when they open something on a news site or a search engine journal site, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we get to see our brand out in this public way." That's fun for me. I like to see that. It gets them
That's
excited.
super cool. I enjoy that as well. I enjoy that as well. Well, Lindsay, it's been a pleasure connecting. I'm looking forward maybe next year an in-person event somewhere. I hear you're down in New Orleans. How's everything down there right now?
Yeah, it's been really good. We survived the hurricane. It was my first year living here. It was a little crazy. Now I know how to live on a generator for a week at a time.
Ha.
So
Ha.
I consider myself a prepper these days.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah,
hey, how does prepping stuff do on Pinterest, by the way?
it does
Prepping, survival, food, etc. Yeah.
survival is great. We just did this huge gardening brand that does rollout
Mhm.
gardening. They did really cool. Had just really some interesting. Of course, it's seasonal. It's a little seasonal, like summertime and things like that. There's definitely a seasonality element on Pinterest, but it was fun. It's fun. There's a lot of great,
Gosh.
cool, quality information there. So I feel confident that if someone's looking for something, that they can get some really good ideas, tips, tricks, all that stuff on Pinterest for sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in my head like seasonality and stuff like that. Like right now, like I think my first neighbor on my street put up Halloween decorations yesterday, right? So now they're gonna pop up. Like every house is gonna pop up like mushrooms with Halloween decorations. Then your holiday lights
Mhm.
going into Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like all the different ideas you can do about stringing lights, the different like the laser shows you can do in your house. I'm sure Pinterest is full of that as well.
Yes,
So,
great ideas.
any piece of any creative asset at the end of the day can be a part of a marketing funnel. So it's just a question of taking the time to be creative, put together those assets and get them out there. Right.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
sounds really cool. Sounds really cool. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I haven't been to New Orleans since PubCon used to do a PubCon New Orleans probably 5 years ago or so, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I miss that town. I miss the music
It's
and the culture.
it's fun. I'm from San Diego, so I miss that culture.
Yeah, you miss tacos,
Yeah. Oh my
tacos, laid
God.
back. Yeah,
Yes, tacos, In-N-Out burgers. Oh, yes.
consistently 75 degrees, 70, 75 degrees every day of the year.
That's really what surprised me about New Orleans is it is like San Diego, like 9 months of the year. It's only June, July, August that it's gnarly and humid and whatever, but the rest of the year is beautiful and perfect.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. We'll have to make it down there sometime then. Well, thanks again for joining me today. It's really been a pleasure to learn more about Pinterest, to learn about Pinterest as being a search engine and discovery engine as much as it is a social network, and all the opportunities out there that we may be overlooking. I do have one more question.
Sure.
So, when you're working with a client that
Mhm.
may have different divisions within their company
Yeah.
and you're working on a Pinterest campaign, are you typically working with the social media department, the search, like if they're separated, right?
Yeah.
Social media department, search department, overall marketing, creative advertising, like typically who are you working with or is it a mix?
So we do all of our own creatives, but we do kind of
Mhm.
create some templates. So in that way, we'll usually initially work a little more with the creative team. We're always working with, if we're not the SEO team, we're always working with the content creation team and making sure we're on brand there. And then we also work with any media buying teams to make sure that we're kind of like looking at the messaging that's working, what they're testing, that kind of thing to see which offers are doing the best, and then we take some of those best sellers and test those first on Pinterest and then add in additional more peripheral stuff at the end after we've got some winners for sure.
That's nice. It gets you integrated into most aspects of
Yeah,
your clients' marketing campaigns across the board. So
absolutely.
that's incredibly valuable at the end of the day. Um, Lindsay, again, it's been a pleasure. Thank
Thank
you to our sponsors, Adzuma and SEMrush, for making the SEJ show possible. Please, if you're listening, take the time to check either of them out and also check out pinsforprofit.com. Again, Lindsay, it's been great. Anything you'd like to drop before we sign off?
I'm just so grateful to have you, and I've been such a fan for such a long time, and I'm so excited to help all these amazing folks learn more about digital marketing, get your brands in the hands of your ideal clients so that they can have awesome success as well. So thank you for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And thank you for our viewers and listeners for joining us today and our sponsors. It's been a pleasure, and we're out. Take it easy.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Search Engine Journal Show. If you liked this episode, subscribe to our channel for so much more and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing.